Well, the White House is reducing the price tag on the president's infrastructure package from $2.3 trillion to $1.7 trillion. That's an effort to try and reach a bipartisan deal with the Republicans. But in the Senate, the GOP is rejecting the counteroffer. They say it is still way too high. Here is White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki yesterday.
In our view, this is the art, I should say, of seeking common ground. This proposal exhibits a willingness to come down in size, giving on some areas that are important to the president, otherwise they wouldn't have been in the proposal, while also staying firm in areas that are most vital to rebuilding our infrastructure and industries of the future.
Steve Hayes is with us, editor and CEO of The Dispatch and a Fox's contributor. Steve, always good to see you. Do you buy what she says? Is the administration really trying to seek, common ground, or you fear they Democrats could ram this through?
Well, Democrats could definitely ram this through, and Joe Biden is getting pressure from the left wing of the Democratic Party to do just that. You had Kirsten Gillibrand, a Democratic senator from New York, saying this week that she thinks it's a mistake to negotiate with Republicans, that they shouldn't do this on a bipartisan basis, that they really should push hard to do the kind of infrastructure that the left wing of the Democratic Party would like. So Biden is hearing from the left wing of the party that he ought to just abandon Republicans altogether. Look, I mean, this is how a negotiation works. They came out with, I think, a significant, really high number to start. Republicans countered, and Democrats came back with a lower number. If you talk to Republicans, they will tell you that there are still several problems with the response. It's still too big. It still has a broad definition of infrastructure, including lots of things that aren't really infrastructure. And they don't like the way that that Democrats are proposing to pay for it by sort of undoing parts of the 2017 Trump tax cut, and in particular the corporate tax.
Can they go ahead and try and do this themselves without the Republican objections? I mean, to what level do you think that they're sincere in doing that, and how do you think this will shake out?
I mean, they could, right? I mean, there were sort of early indications that the Democrats were going to be in a position to jam some of this through via reconciliation, which is the sort of forcing mechanism that you can use on budget issues or some budget issues. You're not allowed to do it too often. You've got to be a little bit choosy about it. They certainly did it with the coronavirus stimulus package, but it's possible that they will do that again. And again, that's what you're hearing from some of the folks on the left side of the Democratic Party saying, just get this done, enough with the Republicans.
Yeah, man, I know they like their way or the highway. And meanwhile, I mean, look, you've got, the bridge between Memphis and West Memphis in Arkansas, right over the Mississippi. I've been over that bridge over I-40. It is closed because there was a huge crack in it. So obviously, our country, we do have decrepit infrastructure. We need that done. Yet the Republicans say there's a lot more in the Democratic proposal that the president says is needed, such as broadband and this sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans really, I think they've got a good point. I mean, the definition of infrastructure, and Democrats haven't really shied away from this argument necessarily. They're choosing to define infrastructure in a very broad fashion, encompassing things that have long been on sort of the progressive wish list and including them in their proposals. You can make the argument they won the election. They choose what goes in their proposals. They can fight for those if they want. I think to call it infrastructure is a bit misleading. There have been studies that suggested that a third of the bill only was actual infrastructure as properly understood, or as it's been understood sort of historically, with 2/3 of it being the kinds of items that we wouldn't typically understand as infrastructure. So they've defined it in a very broad way. This is part of what Joe Biden is saying that he wants to do. He's talking about being a transformational president. He's already made $6 trillion worth of spending proposals, more than $6 trillion. He did so in his first 100 days. You saw the speech before a joint session of Congress. He said he was going big, and he was pretty unapologetic about it. I think this is consistent with what he wants to do. It pleases the left wing of the Democratic Party. I think they're at some risk if they look like they don't really want to compromise, which is why I think we saw what we saw this week. It'll be interesting to see if they follow through, or if they're going to be listening to people like Kirsten Gillibrand who want them to just issue any kind of compromise and move forward on a partisan basis.
Right, and meanwhile, Gillibrand apparently was talking about maybe running for president again one day. So, man, it never ends. Steve Hayes.
She's got the bug,
Steve,
right?
Good to see you. Thank you. Thanks,
Eric.
Steve.